All right, everybody. Thanks for your patience. We're gonna get going now. So thanks for all you for coming. I want to thank Bethany for having us, Bethany Baptist Church for hosting us once again. We are eventually trying to get back to the library, but since it's been a polling place and a few other things in the interim, it hasn't been as available as we would generally prefer. So here's okay, hang on. I can't click and do this at the same time. Screen sharing is, oh, it says my screen share is paused. So is that waiting on you?
I'm admitting people as they ask to come in, by the way.
No.
I don't know if.
No, please don't do that.
Please don't do that.
Okay, so.
Yeah, all right. I don't know how to do this, Anthony, because I have to click out of the Zoom in order, which is not normal. In order to
You're still the co-host, so
yeah, I know. I'm just saying I have to click out of the Zoom to change slides. There's a problem. If I have to do it for every single slide. Okay, guys, we'll figure this out. So with apologies, and my. Okay, now it's gonna work. Okay, so we have a full agenda tonight. We're gonna have updates on Pershing, on 35th Street, on several items that are gonna go in front of the zoning board tomorrow. And we're also gonna ask for your help with some items coming up. We're gonna have UIC here again this summer, which we're very excited about. And we have a couple of other exciting announcements, and we'll wrap up with a guest speaker, Andrew from 36 Square. So first off, Pershing. So
trying to get them up there. It's really struggling on the Wi-Fi.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize you were waiting on this.
No, it's fine. Just keep going, Kate.
I'll turn off my video. Maybe that would help.
Okay, so many of you attended the public meeting regarding the sale of 1769 West Pershing, which is the easternmost big red brick building. So the city's final meeting to determine the winning bid is going to be next Tuesday. Is going to be next Tuesday, and they'll pick one, and then they'll start some more detailed negotiations with the winning bidder regarding the real down and dirty of how are we doing this. So whichever proposal is chosen, it will not result in exactly what you saw being produced. There's going to be minor changes as things move along. There's also going to be some further required community engagement. So there should be other meetings where you, people who live here, will be able to directly engage with the winning bidder. If you may remember, there were 3 proposals there. One is a mixed use, housing and small business spaces. One, and then 2 related to film industry. One in which a national company would come in, remove the majority of the building, leave the front 2 walls standing, and build sound stages, and use that space for leasing equipment, including large trucks and large vehicles for movies. Another one in which a local developer and local film industry people would occupy the space, and there were varying degrees of clarity about exactly what would go on there with those bids. McKinley Park Development Council, Neighbors for Environmental Justice, and DPAVE Chicago each have a seat at the table in that meeting next week. We will be supporting the mixed use proposal, and the grounds for doing that is that we feel it's most in line with our neighborhood plan. So at that point, especially as these larger proposals are coming into the neighborhood, that's really our priority, is to promote the neighborhood plan. So specifically the things that we think, the reasons we think this is the best fit are that it is mixed use. It's going to create more places for people to walk to. It involves this, it will not increase the number of loaded spaces for vehicles. It will, again, create more opportunities for transit because there's going to be people living there. It increases green space, and it increases opportunities for people to start a business in the neighborhood, which is also one of our priorities. And then the housing. There are going to be affordable units in the housing in there. Every developer who builds a building of more than 6 units is required to offer 20% affordable housing. So that's not unique to this proposal. What does affordable housing mean? It means that a family who works full-time at $15 to $20 an hour can afford to live in these apartments. So we're not talking about welfare or Section 8 or anything. We're talking about working people can afford to live in these apartments. So I'll be super clear about what that means. One of the things that we will be discussing with DPD and the developer, if they choose this developer, is going to be, okay, and what are the rest of them going to cost? Because we want to make sure that that is also in line with current rental rates in the neighborhood, and that they aren't looking at other parts of the city and thinking they can charge those prices here. So we want to be very particular about that. I see that Rick, did you want to add anything to that? No, not me. Okay. So, so the meeting is Tuesday, and after that, the city will make an announcement, and we'll see what happens. Up and down buttons are working. Next one. Yeah. All right. So one of the other things that's been going on in the background is kind of fun is we do have, you guys have seen UIC, urban planning, coming and working here. IIT architecture has also been doing some work in the neighborhood. We didn't ask them to do this. They just decided it would be an interesting and timely project to think about things with everything that's been going on and all the press we got in the fall, to look at some things that they could potentially do. That they could potentially do with the Damon Silo site and in the South Branch in general. And Eric went to go see some student work at their midterm, their finals next week. We've also been invited to attend that. So Eric, would you say a little bit about that?
Sure.
So everybody can see you.
Okay, if I just stand here or?
Come on,
No,
up so
you
everybody
can
can
get
see
closer.
you. It says I'm paused, but I don't know why.
So it was a really inspiring event to see many different groups of IIT students. Were all tasked with basically reimagining what the space that the silos are currently on could be used for. They were getting feedback and advice from people in the planning department, other architecture professors, and I was there to represent the neighborhood. And I think what the students reimagined, that everything was sort of tied to connecting the city, connecting our neighborhood more deeply to the city. A lot of the kids had ideas, but 20-something-year-olds had ideas about incorporating the water taxis, creating parks and concert venues. Really, it was not, they were dreaming, and I think the purpose of it was really for the students to develop their own architectural conceptual skills. I was telling Kate that we really need Mr. Tadden to be at the final in order for this to have a practical real world impact. But I think it really did demonstrate the importance of, we're working on addressing the laws, right, that allowed for the state to bypass any community input in the first place, because if the community had been able to have their input, then we might have seen much more imaginative use of the space. So yeah, really some great ideas on display, and really cool to see the kids thinking about the incredible potential for the site. So that's about it. Sound good?
So for those of you who maybe haven't been on the site, you can also see here that, hang on. For those of you who maybe haven't been on the site, you can see that there is in fact a wrecking ball out there. They have started demolition on some of the smaller buildings. We did have the opportunity for a walkthrough, and we're going to talk about that in a little bit. I think in our last meeting, we told you guys about the potential for building a bike path along the South Branch, and we did get a walk through the Damon Silos in the course of doing that. We actually, for our grant proposal, got a little bit of support from Mike Hayden for building a bike path there. We're not going to let him off the hook too easy, because the reality is that the city will mandate that he puts a path there, and we're doing some of the work for him. But by us getting involved, we can ensure that that path connects to neighboring lots and is actually useful. So, so we're appreciative to have that level of cooperation. We did get a site walk through. There has been no demolition pulled yet that we know of. Preservation Illinois has been helping us keep an eye on that, to demolish the larger towers, but some of the smaller buildings that frankly were already halfway gone, they have started tearing up the rest of them. The other thing you'll see here is a picture of barges that we saw in their walkthrough. We understand that those are going to be moving, and that's good news because the exception to the requirement for pedestrian infrastructure is if you're running barge traffic, and he was pretty clear he wants those off the property, so that's good news. Oh, this is the deal. I literally cannot. Okay, sorry, guys. You have clicker. Sorry, guys. It's not our equipment. I don't know how to do it. It's not our equipment. All right. So next couple of things, zoning board of appeals. So, you know, zoning is not the most exciting stuff, but it is the reason that we have so many of the things going on here that we do. So we are trying to pay better attention to some of them. There are two big decisions going in the neighborhood going in front of the zoning board of appeals tomorrow. One is Wheatland Tube over on Western and 45th. That's technically outside our service area, but we're pointing it out because we know a lot of people commute that way or work down in that area. So it's certainly relevant to us. It's still part of the CND. The proposal is to tear down the existing buildings and rebuild a new logistics center. It's being built on spec. There is no tenant. DPD has worked with them already. They've negotiated a larger setback, and the new facade, the facade of the new building will be red brick to match the neighboring area. So that's something, it seems like it's probably going to sail through. The other one going in front is the special use permit for Justice Cannabis. That is the proposed dispensary in the State Farm building at 35th and Ashland. We did hear from them this week. They asked us for a letter of support, and we told them that we were not going to support any particular company, although we are generally supportive of the idea of a dispensary in the neighborhood. And we think this could be a decent location because it is removed from schools. It's removed from a lot of things that one might typically worry about. But we were not going to endorse any particular company to bring something like that in. So I just wanted to let you guys know a bit about what the zoning board of appeals will actually be looking at tomorrow when they make this decision, so you understand what the criteria are. These are the 5 things that any petitioner has to prove to the board. So one is that it complies with general zoning, and that has rules about the size of the building and parking and bike racks and things like that. One is that it's in the public interest and will not have a significant adverse effect. Another is it's compatible with the character of the neighboring area. And they're talking about site planning and the actual building itself when they talk about that. That is one of the areas where we weren't entirely opposed, but we asked, there was some room for improvements and things that we asked them to do. For example, right now their planned entrance faces the parking lot in the back of that building. And we said, hey, this is a TOD zone. Your entrance needs to be on the street where it looks like you're supposed to walk here. So that was one of the reasons that we were like, it needs to be compatible with surrounding areas in terms of operating characteristics. Their hours are going to be very similar to other stores in the area. So at this point, they're doing pretty good. They're also going to add some outdoor lighting, and they don't anticipate a very high traffic count. And the next one is designed to promote pedestrian safety and comfort. So then again, this is where we had a little bit of a disagreement because we agreed with them that they didn't want their door next to the bus stop, which is where the other existing door is, but we disagreed with them about where it should go instead. So anyway, the zoning board will make that opinion. They will give their opinion tomorrow, and they will get a permit or they won't, and we'll find out. Questions about that? Yeah.
They still own it, you just wanna revamp their building, correct?
Yeah, it hasn't sold, or more properly, it sold 3 or 4 years ago. Yeah, so it's not a recent sale. I don't understand why they're doing it now. It looks like people are still working there.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure what happens to the employees or, those are all like things we'd like to know, but, we found out about this last week when we got a call from the Sun-Times. It was like, hey, what do you guys know about this? And we were like, nothing, send us the documents.
So
So
they sold the whole building, or the entire building.
3 buildings, in fact. Yeah, it's the one on Western is the listed address, but their property actually wraps all the way around behind the Home Depot. And it's gonna be all of that. If you're really interested in this stuff, you can in fact watch the zoning board of appeals meeting on Zoom. Feel free to take a picture of this. It's at 8:30 in the morning, and I don't know about you, but that sounds fabulous with morning coffee. Anyway, it's available if you're interested. They're also gonna be having it streamed on video, so if you wanna know what happens, you can see it for yourself. All right, now more zoning, but maybe a little more tangible for us, 35th Street. So you may have noticed that there are notices posted on 35th Street about rezoning. And that's gonna be rezoning from Ashland all the way to Archer. So what you're looking at up here is from the study that UIC did for us last year, which was part of the calculus in nurturing this on. So we're really happy to play that part in it. What you see in the top is the current zoning of the area, which is all single family. All that yellow is single family, and we all know that that's not what's actually there on 35th Street or any place else in the neighborhood. What you see below is the second bar is what's actually happening in the neighborhood. So that's a problem. This is actually part of the reason that we have so many vacant storefronts on 35th Street. We have something because a lot of them got downzoned to where they could no longer open a business in them, but they're mom and pops, and at the same time, you couldn't convert it, didn't know anything about residential real estate, maybe if you were a commercial landlord. So there's a lot that went on there, and a lot of those buildings have just sat vacant. So it's not gonna happen overnight, but we are cautiously optimistic that this is going to help bring some of those storefronts back to life. So DPD did their own study, Department of Planning and Development, and what they've proposed is neighborhood mixed use. What this means, there's 2 different flavors of this. They've chosen the one that allows a few more housing units on each lot. So, and the way that they do that is they say that you have to have X amount of lot space per apartment. All right. So if the size of a standard city lot, the zoning that they proposed, you could have up to 7 units on a standard city lot. Most of those buildings that are there are 3 to 6 units. It will allow the ground floor of any of those buildings to be either commercial, so small mom and pop business, or residential. So for the buildings that have already been converted, if someone is living on the first floor, that's totally fine. For the buildings that have not been converted, if you want to reopen it as a business, that's totally fine. We had a meeting with DPD last week and said, hey, we're not sure if it should be this one or if it should be one step down where they don't allow as many units on the lot. And DPD said that their study showed that this was going to allow the largest number of existing buildings on 35th Street to be used the way that they were already built. And that's why they chose this one. So generally speaking, this zoning results in new construction that is 3 stories tall with retail on the ground floor. So if anything was to be torn down or if any empty lot was to be developed, that would be what you might expect to go on. We don't know when city council is going to vote on this. You might have heard that the current city council had their last meeting yesterday. And a new one will be seated on May 15th. So nothing is going to happen between now and then. This didn't make it onto the docket for those last meetings. So we'll find out. Questions on this one?
What happens if it fails?
Everything just stays the way it is for now until somebody makes another move. Fair question. Anything else? All right, so, sorry, what? Okay, so more 35th Street. So UIC is coming back, and part of the reason we had invited them, well, they actually asked us to come back this year, and we have asked them to focus on 35th Street. So, so this all kind of ties in. We didn't know that the zoning was going to go through already. That was actually one of the things we were going to work on with UIC. So now they freed us up to take the next step of saying, great, now everything's right sized. What do we do with it, and how do we bring this back to life? So some things that we're going to have about a dozen graduate students here. You're going to see them all over the neighborhood, just like last year. We're going to have a series of events over Memorial Day weekend. You'll see tables set up by the L in the park and for the library at the Memorial Day parade. Please stop and talk to them. Please encourage your friends to stop and talk to them. Also, like last year, we're going to have 2 larger indoor events with hands-on activities and table talks and lots of conversation. So we'd love to see as many neighborhood people as we can come out and participate in those events. Some of the things that we are hoping to get out of this are a survey of business owners. Okay, you have a business here, or you want to put a business here. What do you need? What are the physical conditions of these individual buildings? In other words, how much work is there to be done? And what are some creative ways that we can get that work done? Because remember, you know, we're lucky here. A lot of these are still owned by small landlords. A lot of these are still owned by families. We don't want to see them turn over to larger developers. We'd love to keep that, keep it in the family, so to speak, and help people use what they have. You know, we prefer that someone who cares about the neighborhood own any of those buildings. So some policy recommendations for how can we make this work, also to help small businesses, and then also some street paving. Because one of the things we realize is, if you want pedestrian traffic, maybe you don't want truck traffic, bicycle infrastructure, things like that. So we'll be looking at all of the whole enchilada on 35th Street. And that'll be we're going to focus especially on Ashland to Levitt, to get that little bit past the L. Because one of the things we're also looking at long-term is right now that area on the other side of Archer really doesn't feel connected to the rest of 35th Street. But I mean, the L is right there. So we really want people to get off the L at 35th and Archer and feel like they're already walking into our little Main Street. So, questions about that?
Actually, just a quick point. If you have a dozen students that need someplace to work out of as a base, let me know sometime in the next few weeks. I'll see if I can squeeze them into our office or somewhere at 36 Square.
That would be fabulous. Yeah, I think they're going to be more on campus this year, but we may very well take up on that for the students.
Okay, let me know.
What I'm about to ask our neighbors for is this. We are having a little trouble with venues for those larger community gatherings. Last year, we held them at Aquinas, who's been very generous with us in the past. Aquinas is in a really weird situation that you guys should also know about. They were in the process of buying their building, which is a super exciting thing for a nonprofit to actually own its building. And for a lot of reasons, that sale has been held up. They have actually not hosted a community event since we were there with UIC last year because one of their 4 current owners just freaked out and thought the floor was going to collapse from having that many people in the building. So on the one hand, I would say it was a great success for turnout. They used to build carburetors in that building, so I don't believe there's any actual threat to the floor. But that's what they're dealing with. And so also they could use your love and support. And if you know anybody who might be able to help them out of this situation, please pass that along. They need some help. In the meantime, we need a place that's big enough for 80 people and a lot of tables and chairs. And that's kind of hard to come by. We've approached NLEI. We haven't heard from them. We're having some difficulty with the field house because they want you to have a lot of insurance. The 11th ward has agreed to ask to work with the park district and see if they might be able to massage something. But in the meantime, that's actually what's holding us finalizing our dates, is to have a venue for those two larger events. So if you guys know of any other space, any of the churches, or something like that might be able to help us, we would really appreciate that. We'd hate to have to take something like that outside the neighborhood. It really defeats the purpose. The other thing is, if you know anybody who lives or works or owns a business or would like to own a business on 35th Street that we should talk to in the course of this project, please let us know. We will take down their information and be in touch. Obviously, we're going to start spreading the word about this, well, now, but we want to make sure that we include everybody who would like to be included, because 35th Street belongs to everyone. All right. And then, Mike, you wanna do the honors here?
Yeah, where's the mic stand?
It's over there. Go for it.
It's inside the,
Yeah, all right, so if I stand here, everyone can hear me. So this is kind of the thing that I'm really excited about because it's kind of been a pet project of mine. I think it was February, we started applying for this grant to do kind of like pre-construction work for possible like riverfront trail setup. And then we were invited to apply to the second round in March, and that was we worked our tails off to hit that deadline. And I'm really excited to announce that we have a number that has been recommended to their board for approval. So that's 200,000. It's less than what we were expecting, but it's a lot more than we've been dealing with in the past for this kind of thing. So I'm really excited for that. I think that's going to be able to help us do a lot as far as just like planning all this connectivity with the riverfront and with the riverfront to, at least Chinatown, and Chinatown downtown is kind of dealt with by other projects. And so we're looking at doing it in partnership with First Port Alliance. Open Lands is helping us with some knowledge work as well as doing some money stuff for us. And then Living Habitats is going to be kind of the chief design organization. And this grant is also going to potentially allow us to hire some part-time help for some of this stuff. So I'm really excited about that.
So I want to also recognize a few people. First up, the gentleman in the very back pew there, Robert, is going to be our prime contractor on this from Living Habitats, and he's going to be helping us with the design and engineering work.
Currently shuffling some of the stuff that finishes home.
Well, I mean, that's the more important job.
All back here at the back.
Oh, good. I also, and if you want to like talk a little bit about the mechanics of that, we have a minute for you. Although I realize I'm putting you on spot, so I didn't tell you in advance. And while you're thinking about that, I want to give a huge shout out to Mike. So I don't know if you guys, some of you have been around realize this. The way the board operates is that board members tend to come in and kind of pick a pet project that they will shepherd through. So this is one of the largest projects that we've done, really, other than the UIC studies. And this is Mike's first project on the board. And he and I celebrated St. Patrick's Day by hitting the send button at like 10 p.m. So there was a lot of blood, sweat, and tears involved in getting this thing through. And just want to acknowledge how much work you put into this and say thank you and how excited we are. That this looks like it's really going to happen. I will also take this opportunity to say that we do have a couple of open seats on the board. So if you want to be like Mike, we could really use you. All right. All right. And now with that, I'm going to turn it over to our guest speaker. So some of you probably know 36 Squared, which is over on the eastern side of the CMD, but you might not know that there's a business incubator in there. And so I'm going to turn over the screen share to our friend Andrew Fogarty, who's going to tell you all about what he does.
Okay. Let me get this set up here.
Anybody here? If you can't hear, move up. I know it's church, but you know.
Can everybody hear me okay? I hope. All right. For some reason, my slideshow is not there. There we go. Okay, so again, my name's Andrew Fogarty, and I'm with the 36 Squared Business Incubator. We are in the 36 Squared building over there on 3636 South Iron Street. And what I do is economic development. So government-funded economic development. I've been doing this personally for about 15 years. Our funding comes from the City of Chicago, BACP, Business Affairs and Consumer Protection, from the SBA, who funds the Illinois Department of Commerce to run small business development centers, of which we are one. There's about 40 in Illinois. They're all across the country. Actually, there's small business development centers. And we're also funded by CIBC and occasionally some other people too, including the county. So what we're seeing now is a little bit of a pared down presentation that I do for the city a couple of times a year. So I know we're a little bit pressed for time, so I'll go fairly quickly. But if somebody comes to us with a small business development center and the neighborhood business development centers, which are funded by the city, of which we are one, essentially it's free business counseling, free business assistance. If you want to start a business, you want to grow a business, you can come and speak with us confidentially. And our job is, we don't have all the answers, but our job is to find out how best we can assist you. Some of the resources that we use and that are available to you are, of course, the SBDC, Illinois Small Business Development Centers. Typically, people will come to us with just an idea. We'll assist them with writing a business plan, finding funding, figuring out your startup costs, that type of thing, incorporation. There's also, we're also a City of Chicago neighborhood business development centers. There's quite a few of those in the city. And it's kind of like the city's version of an SBDC, although you'll get more information about, we can certainly find more information about city zoning, city regulations, city licensing. We also are affiliated with the Illinois International Trade Center. So if you have a product or a service that you want to get licensed overseas, you have a cookie that you think would sell well in Denmark or Australia, how do you get it over there? What are their labeling requirements? The International Trade Center guys are the people to talk to about that. And they are funded again by the state. Occasionally the state will fund trade shows and pick up a portion of the cost to send you and your cookies to, on trade shows in perhaps Toronto, Finland, around the world. The state actually has people on the ground in about 50 different countries whose job it is to try and assist Illinois companies in getting their products overseas. So it's a good service to have. If you have a product or a service that you're interested in getting government contracts for, government contracts are usually a little bit difficult to get to start. There's a lot of paperwork and it's quite onerous to begin with. However, when you do get government contracts, they're not coupon clipping. They're not always trying to find a better deal. If they're happy with you, those contracts can last for a very long time. So if you have a product or a service, if you have a pest control company and you want to do pest control for the VA or a public university, your procurement technical assistance centers are the places to go. And they do a very good job. There's about 9 of them across the state. If you're a manufacturer, the City of Chicago's LERI program, Local Industrial Retention Initiative program, this is a program that works very well with development councils across the city. Essentially, they're your liaison to City Hall for any new programs that might be coming out, any new grants or incentives for manufacturers, or if you have a problem that you need to have addressed, if you feel an inspector is leaning on you unfairly, I'd certainly let your Leary guy know about that. For when I imagine everybody here is from the McKinley Park area, but if you, for people that are out of Chicago, typically every municipality will have some sort of economic development department to work with grants or incentives. Again, we are funded by the SBA, which is federally the Small Business Administration. And when somebody is starting up a business, I recommend they go to the SBA website and download some of the materials there. They have some business plan templates that are in a Word format, so you can edit them for yourself. They have some startup cost worksheets that are already filled in for, I think the one they use now is a pizza restaurant, but you can edit it to reflect your own numbers. So it's quite helpful. SCORE is another nonprofit that does business advising, and Cook County has recently put together what they call the Cook County Small Business Source, which is their own network of centers that advise small business people. So grants and incentives that I typically work with, first of all, at 36 Squared, we work quite a bit with disabled entrepreneurs. So if you know any disabled entrepreneurs, please send them to our website, 36business.org, and have them apply for the Boost Awards. We're accepting applications up until May 1st, and it's pretty simple to apply, and they can get up to $1,000 to help start or grow their business. Now, property tax incentives. If you are looking at purchasing, I know we were just talking about the building on 35th and Ashland there. If you see an empty building and you wanted to purchase it, prior to purchasing that, you should investigate, and you're welcome to come to talk to me and see if I can get you on the right road. But I would strongly suggest that you investigate 6B or 7B tax incentives. The 6 or 7 differentiates between industrial and more general commercial use. But essentially, prior to your going to the building and purchasing it and developing it and creating jobs and doing great things, you're going to the county and you're saying, I really want to do this great thing, create these jobs, improve this area. However, the taxes are too high. And you will apply for, in industrial, for example, a 6B tax incentive, which will reduce your property taxes by roughly 50% for 10 years. And it's renewable for another 10 years. So you can see two decades of having your property taxes cut in half can be a pretty substantial amount of money. It's well worth looking into. Ideally, you apply before you purchase the building, because once you purchase the building, it's harder to make the case to the county that they need to give you the incentive. The City of Chicago Small Business Improvement Fund, and I believe they're taking applications now in the Archer Western TIF. I know some of you are familiar with it, and what this is funding that will help you make improvements on your industrial or commercial property. It is not for residential, but it's for permanent improvements to the building. So it won't cover things like your hot tub, but it will cover something like plumbing, heating, tuck pointing, roofing, air conditioning, the things that matter when you're doing a build out on your building. The maximum grant assistance would be for an industrial property up to $250,000. You do not have to own the building to qualify for this. You can, as long as you have your landlord's permission, you can apply for it. And there are levels of reimbursement, although most of them are 50%, but they do go all the way up to 90%. So if you're planning any improvements on your commercial or industrial property and you're unfamiliar with this, get a hold of me in the next few days and I'll give you a little more information or set you on the right course. This is actually a very well-run grant. It's run by a nonprofit called Summer Corps, and there's the website there. SOMERCOR. It's a city grant, and a lot of times government grants can be difficult to work with, but in this case, the city has subcontracted out to Summer Corps, and they do a very good job. So I highly recommend that one. The Chicago Recovery Grant, I don't know if it's open right now, but I expect it to continue with the new mayor. And this is funding for pre-development, construction, renovation costs. It's kind of open to anybody, developers, business owners, entrepreneurs, and that there's 2 levels to this. 250,000 and above 250, up to 250 and above. I've worked with this and similar grants. Usually the difference is below 250,000, it can be approved by the city department that is handling the applications. And above 250,000, it needs to be approved by city council, which in my experience, it can take a very, very, very long time. So I recommend if you want your project to get off the ground in a timely manner, I would recommend you go with the lower level. Special service areas, some of you may be familiar with where in areas where there is not SPIF grants. There's often SSAs or special service areas. And what these are is typically they're in commercial corridors. Sometimes they'll pay for bike racks, ornamental lighting, marketing, security, facade improvements, special events to promote people to the district. And what that is the businesses in that area pay a little bit more tax, and that is funneled back into the area for these improvements. Workforce development. If you find yourself, we've talked about a few different businesses moving into the area and hiring people. If you hire somebody who's on or eligible for unemployment, then you can get up to $10,000 to train them into the position. This is federal dollars that is usually running through the state or the county or some local nonprofit organizations. The key thing with this is that you need to apply for it before you actually put the person on board. So if you're in that position, reach out to me and I'll explain the way it goes. Essentially, is if you are going to hire somebody during the course of the interview, you would want to say, you know, this is looking good. I'm working with this state program. They'll be contacting you in the next few days, and hopefully we can get you on the board in the next week or two. Then you would contact your representative who's administering the grant. They would check with the potential employee to make sure they're eligible. And after that, you would be approved and be in business. Now, if you said to the person, this is great, you've got the job, I'm working with this program, they're going to call you. The first thing the people from the program say is, are you currently employed? And they would say, yes, you know, Kate gave me the job 2 days ago. And therefore, you're not eligible for the reimbursement. So it's an odd little thing, but you have to keep in mind that with this and with most grants, they are not retroactive. So for example, with the SPIF grant, if you do work on your building and then apply for the grant, you cannot get it. If you hire somebody and then apply for the grant, you cannot get the OJT program. TIFWorks is a city program which pays for training of employees, incumbent employees within your company. There's a number of different zones on the southwest side, and a number of them are in the McKinley Park area. Empowerment zones, which are tax incentives. Hub zones, historically underutilized business zones. This will give you preferential treatment when your company's applying for government contracts. Enterprise zones, this can make you tax exempt on the materials that you're using to improve your building. This is one of the few that can be retroactive. Essentially, what you're getting is a certificate saying you're in an enterprise zone and you're tax exempt, and you can go and get the receipts from your building materials. And I believe it's for your machinery also, and go back and collect that 10%, 11% sales tax that you've paid on them. And then TIF districts, these are tax increment financing districts. And this is where the money comes from to fund these improvements. I'm going to just stop briefly. Does anybody have any questions? Because I'm kind of zooming through it quickly. I guess no.
Not proud as of yet.
Okay. So typically when I get this, and I know that the council is a nonprofit, what we do is a nonprofit. And there are foundations that support nonprofits. So I generally give a nod to them also. The 3M Foundation, the Carnegie Foundation, Coca-Cola, Walmart. These are all foundations that support. They don't particularly support what I do, but they support nonprofit organizations across the country. And they're worth taking a look at if you happen to be in a nonprofit or working with a nonprofit. Also, Ford. Bank of America actually just had a good grant out where they would supply, I think, 50% of the down payment on a commercial building for women entrepreneurs. I believe that the deadline just passed, but if you're a woman entrepreneur and you want me to confirm that, I'll be happy to do it for you. Amazon also has grants to nonprofit organizations. When you're applying for grants, any of these type of grants, you want to get the support from your community. So if you're doing, as we can tell, the work that you're doing tonight, if you wanted to do a project in McKinley Park, it's good to speak to the council about what you're doing. It's good to get those letters of support, because the city of Chicago is run by politicians who run, survive on votes, and they want to do things that they want to use your money to please the community. So it's important to get that support. And generally, these grants go towards projects that improve the community, that create jobs. It can't really be something that's just going to make money for you, put money in your pocket so you can, buy a nice car. So that's essentially what I do. It's economic development. If you have any interest in starting or growing a business in McKinley Park or pretty much anywhere in Illinois, come and talk to me. We help with all types of businesses. And like I said, we don't have all the answers, but we know we have pretty good databases and we know a number of people. So if I don't have the answer to your question, I can certainly find out. Of course, since we're funded by the SBA, we deal with all the SBA lenders and a number of different bank loans. And if you're not eligible for an SBA loans, there are some nonprofits lenders also. So we do our best to try and assist you in getting the funding you need. And everything we do is at no charge and confidential.
And if anybody on the Zoom call has any questions, you can use the raise your hand function or type it into the chat for us.
Andrew, I have a question. For some of the things you mentioned that are for small business commercial, do they need to be zoned commercial, or is that just saying any small business?
No, well, depends what it is. Generally, it doesn't. Generally, these grants don't relate to zoning at all.
Okay.
But you should be. One good thing is that we're funded by the government, but we're not the government. So every once in a while, I'll have somebody, a small business person, talk to me and tell me they haven't paid taxes in 10 years, or they're manufacturing in a zone where I know they shouldn't be manufacturing. Well, we don't, I tell them to move somewhere where they're zoned correctly. I tell them to clear up those taxes because it's going to bite them, but we don't call the IRS. We don't tell on you. We are confidential. We also can't steal your ideas or, buy that great building from underneath you. When you sign up to be a client, it's also non-disclosure, non-compete agreement.
All right. Anything on Zoom?
I do just want to say thank you to the council. You guys do great and important work. I've worked with a number of similar organizations. I think you guys are top notch, doing good stuff for McKinley Park, and a lot of people don't know how much unpaid volunteer labor you guys are putting in. So my hat's off to you, and thank you for the good work you do. And thank you for having me tonight, by the way.
Thank you for coming. We do have one question.
Okay.
It's staff that can speak Spanish, Mandarin. Most of it's on.
You might want to repeat that.
Andrew, we have a question.
I heard it.
about-
Yeah,
Oh,
I
yeah.
heard it. Spanish, yes. I have colleagues across the city and the state. We do Mandarin, yes. I'm pretty sure we have Mandarin, although not in my office, but we do have people who speak Mandarin. And then I'm certain of Polish, and across the state, there's about 40 different centers. So I'm pretty sure that we can assist you.
Good question, yeah.
I'm just curious about like the incubator step. So are there businesses that are inside the space? And if so, what
Sure.
kind of businesses are in there?
Sure. So when we say incubator, first of all, the 36 square building is at, I believe, 36square.com. And that's a 185,000 square foot building. We know the owners very well, and they're great people, and it's divided up into smaller spaces. So I think there's probably 30 plus small businesses in the building, of which maybe half are clients of mine, although often they'll come and talk to us about the various grants, incentives, especially during the pandemic. We were very busy during that time. And then within we do have our space, which we have some smaller businesses are based out of, and is available for them to use for meetings, that type of thing. Again, with the pandemic, it was it wasn't utilized that much. But it is nice to have a business address, to have someplace to physically go and do your work sometimes, or to have a meeting with a client that isn't Starbucks. So yes, to your question, we do have actual businesses in there.
Another one?
Let's make a brief comment that I am a client of Andrew and 36 Squared, and I tell Andrew all the time, but in case anyone is looking into using those services, absolutely invaluable. No way that we could have got to where we are right now without Andrew's support and Veronica, his colleague. So really great people and super knowledgeable and amazing contacts.
Great. Thank you very much, Eric. Thank you.
All right, and thank you, Andrew.
Okay.
So anybody who would like to reach Andrew later, we'll make his contact information available to anybody who needs it. And
all right, there you go. That's
yeah.
that's my cell phone number. You're welcome to call or text me. Our web address is a little bit different than the buildings. We're at 36business.org. And my email address is andrewgfogarty@36business.org.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. And I'll leave you guys to it. Have a good day now. Bye-bye.
You too.
Yay. All right, guys. So we are at time. We're going to wrap up here. Okay. So I'm going to wrap up here with some upcoming events, and we do have quite a few. Give me 1 second. I will screen share again. Sorry, I'm in a little trouble here. Okay, got it back. All right, so we do have some upcoming events. So tomorrow, the Zoning Board of Appeals is going to hear those two petitioners for Wheatland Tube and for Justice Cannabis. We also are now kind of in the waiting game for the new city administration to kick in. So some things are just going to be happening very slowly or not at all for the next several weeks. And personally, I'm ready for a breather. I don't know about you after this election. So we will, however, will be gearing up to host UIC. So for the next, in May and June, we will not be hosting meetings like this because we're going to be having a series of events around the neighborhood looking at this very particular project on 35th Street. And you were invited to all of those events, and we would love to see you and come and bring a friend. So the class starts also on May 15th. And that will involve some of us going up to campus to spend time in the classroom with the students and tell them about our neighborhood and things that go on here. If any of you have a burning desire to go talk to graduate students about what it's like to live in McKinley Park, we might bring you along, so let us know. Memorial Day weekend is the first time you're probably going to see them on the ground here. We will be setting up tables to set around the neighborhood in front of the L, in front of the library, at the parade, the Memorial Day parade, in the park. So we're going to be around. Please stop and talk to them. Please encourage other people to stop and talk to them. We are going to have interpretation available in Spanish and Mandarin. So like, please, we really, really want to hear from everybody. We know that there can be the barriers there are not just language. It's also comfort with being part of a process and being part of some of these things that, especially for newer immigrants, just don't happen in your home country. You know, in some cases because no one cares what you think, and some cases because if you speak out, you could be in a lot of trouble. So we want to make sure that everybody understands that we really do want their participation. And this is not, you know, this is not a trick. It really matters what people have to say. The two big events that we're looking for venues for, that's the reason they say TBD, are going to be the charrette. So for those of you who participated with UIC last year, you may remember the first event, big event we had at Aquinas. We had things for you to play with and like move strings and push pins and stickers and build things and draw on things. And there will be more of that, and table conversations and food. Don't forget the food. So we will be doing that, and that will be our major hands-on info gathering event to kind of, as the students work through some parameters of things that they may want to propose and test them out on the neighborhood. And then their final presentation will be either 8 or 9 June, that's a Thursday or a Friday night, where they'll say, hey, this is what we think you should do, and we'll have some discussion about it. And again, food. So please come out and be part of those events. We've invited some neighbors. I also want to acknowledge Matt here from Bridgeport Alliance, who's going to be working with us. We've invited them because even though 35th Street is definitely in McKinley Park, they shop here and come here and eat and come to our restaurants, things. We're going to include them. Bridgeport Alliance is also going to be working with us on the proposed bike and walking path project. So we wanted everybody to have a chance to meet some of those folks because we'll be seeing more of them. All right, any final questions for tonight? All right, thank you so much, everybody, for coming. If you are interested in helping out with anything with UIC, please let us know. We'll take your information down. If you have any ideas about where we could hold those meetings, or if you want to be part of working with the students more directly, or if you or someone you know has or would like to have a business on 35th Street, we would love to get any event information from you and follow up. Thank you.